Hello and welcome to this live coaching session on what is self-love to me. So I'm delighted that you're here. I think we've got quite a few new members, so welcome to all of you. Welcome to old members. You're more than welcome to watch me here live and to comment in the chat below, or if you're not here live, if you're unable to be here live, you can always go ahead and comment or ask questions later. I don't know where I can see your comments, which is a little bit of a problem. So never mind, I shall think of a way. Let me just set something different up, perhaps. Yeah, I'm sorry, but Facebook has changed, so I'm quite surprised if you can even see me here now, because everything has changed and it's a little bit complicated, but I think it's for those pro people who are always sort of multi-broadcasting all over the place and who've got lots of things to promote while they're talking and everything. So I think I'm a little bit lost here. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about self-care and what it is to me, because lots of people associate self-care with having gorgeous massages, expensive holidays, and like pampering yourself and your body, which is something delightful. I'm all for it. I often have massages myself. I mean, that can be part of self-care, but it can also not be part of self-care. It all depends on the intention you have behind it all. So, to me, self-care is about conscious living. It is about, instead of reacting to life, it's designing life. Because when you design your life, when you are in the driver's seat, then you can really not control, but you can design a lot of your experiences as you go through the day. And to me, real self-care is really respecting your desires and making sure that you get your desires met and that you make as much fun and joy and happiness and love out of life as possible. I mean, isn't that what we all want to experience, especially in this group, which is called Choosing Happiness? So it seems to me that self-care is about creating the circumstances that will allow the optimal happiness, love, fulfillment, whatever it is you want. And that rarely happens by reaction. It's more likely to happen when we design it, if you see what I mean. So please go ahead and comment if you want to comment, if you want to let me know anything, if you can't hear me, if you can't see me, just pop it in the chat below. So, to me, self-love or self-care really starts with no longer rushing. I don't believe that you can really take care of somebody if you're in a rush. I mean, think of the little baby. If you're in a rush, you're not really taking care of it, are you? You're sort of coping. So to me, it's the same thing. If you transfer that onto yourself and you say, if I'm rushing, am I really taking care of myself? And self-care is not something that you put in at defined moments and then stop in between. Right? So you don't rush around leading your life and doing lots of things and say, okay, I'll have my nails done on Monday and that is my self-care. That is not how I see self-care at all. It's really an integral part of life that needs to be happening all the time. So to me, to live really in self-care is seeing yourself as a little child that you really want to take care of and to love and to offer the best conditions possible. So as you can see, it's something ongoing. You can't just do it at periods, right? Saying that, of course, none of us are perfect and we are allowed to get it wrong, right? It's about the intention, what we put into the design. So self-care to me is designing every day as closely as I can to my ideal day. And that can sound like a really steep order because many of us don't really know what an ideal day looks like. I talk to lots of people who say, well, I don't know, right? So let's start with the morning. If you want to really find out what your ideal day is, have a look at where you want to wake up. When do you want to wake up? With whom do you want to wake up? Go into right from the morning and go through the day. So one of the great gifts I've given myself is not to set an alarm clock. Of course, sometimes I have to set an alarm clock because well, I've got a meeting or I've got a workshop, but I try not to work before 10 o'clock in the morning, which works really well for me because it leaves me lots of time to have a morning ritual in place. And of course, you can go into the judgment and saying, well, aren't you lucky? But this didn't happen overnight. I used to set the alarm clock for 6 o'clock in the morning or 5:30, and I had to get up and I had to, and all this have to is really a sign that we're not designing, that we're just reacting. So I started thinking about what I wanted to experience in the morning, and I thought, oh, I don't like the alarm clock because when I was young, I used to be a musician, and musicians work later on in the day, so I wasn't used to having that alarm clock going off. And so when I became a teacher at some point in my life, I had to get up in the morning. I allowed myself to feel the pressure to get up in the morning. Right? I didn't quite design that part of my life. I just reacted to it. So I thought, this is not something I enjoy. I want to wake up naturally. And I want to do a few things for myself before I start the day. So this is something I did gradually. I didn't wake up one morning thinking, oh, I have to start my own business so that I can set my own schedule so I don't have to have the alarm clock going off in the morning. You see, this is something that I did over time. So what you do today really sets you up for what will happen tomorrow and the day after, etc., etc. And maybe right now you can't see how you can avoid having the alarm clock going off. Maybe you enjoy it. But if you, like at the time when I did have the alarm clock going off, which I wasn't enjoying, I thought, how can I make this more agreeable? How can I make this more pleasurable? And that is because I'm all about up-leveling all the time. I'm up-leveling my experience whenever I can. I'm trying to go one better all the time. So I said to myself, well, how can I really improve this experience of having to get up early in the morning to get to work on time, not enjoying particularly having an alarm clock, and not wanting to go to bed so early that I could never go out to a concert or to a show or for a meal with friends. So I needed to find a compromise. And I thought, okay, I can take my shower in the evening. So in the morning I don't have to get a shower. That really saved me some time. And then I went even further as I went along, and I said, okay, breakfast is really a waste of time because it takes me half an hour to have my breakfast in the morning. I will just skip that and have a coffee. Do you see what I mean? So I sort of made a compromise, knowing that it wasn't ideal, but that I was working towards an ideal situation. And the ideal situation has happened to me with the alarm clock because I don't have it go off in the morning, which to me is a luxury, and I can enjoy that because I know that I deserve all the luxury that I can possibly lay my hands on, and I can allow myself to enjoy that every morning. Then I said that I didn't start working before 10 o'clock, but I often get up at 7 or 8. But then really I allow myself to plan out my day, and that doesn't just mean with a schedule in hours and minutes, right? It also is about finding out where I am and sort of dialing in to what I want to go through during the day, where I want to focus my attention, what would bring me joy, right? So I take the time to feel into that every morning. Also, what I do as one of the first things when I get up is when I go to the bathroom, I look myself in the mirror and I pay myself a compliment. I say something kind to myself. So paying myself a compliment is a little bit about self-care too, isn't it? Because if we can't give ourselves a compliment, why do we expect others to be able to? Right? Do you see what I mean? So let's give ourselves what it is we want. This doesn't prevent other people from adding to it, right? It just means that we get what we want, opening up the doors to the possibility of other people wanting to contribute too. Do you see what I mean? So I give myself a compliment. I say something kind, either about my appearance, about my personality, about whatever, right? So I'm in this good mood. It sets me up for the day. Then I do some physical exercise because I want to stay fit and healthy. And then I can dive into whatever it is I want to turn my attention to. And this is often very intuitive. So I can have a plan. I mean, I put everything into my diary to make sure I've got the time to do it. But I am allowed to change my mind whenever I want. But it's really quite easy just to go to your desk and see, okay, this is what's on today. Let me do that. Or, oh, I don't feel like doing that. I can put it somewhere else. So as soon as I'm not doing a task that I have scheduled, I need to find space in my calendar to put it in. If there is no space, well, then I will have to find a joyful way of doing it. And I was thinking of you and talking about self-care just earlier on because I was sitting in my garden before this storm came on. I was sitting out in the sunshine. We're up in the mountains right now, so it's not too hot. So I was sitting there and I was actually working on my new online course, which will be called Sparkle Femininity at 50, which is something I'm totally passionate about. We're going to look at many things, femininity, so everything feminine at 50, which is pleasure, sensuality, beauty, sexuality, prosperity, all these lovely things. And I was just finishing off the first module, and I was in this good space where I was not at the computer, I was actually writing it out in my hand, sitting outside and just feeling into it. And I hadn't put this on my schedule, but I was able to do that because I allowed the task just before to be really easy. So that was about writing a syllabus for a business school where I teach. And the deadline I had set myself for today, and I got it done really easily, really quickly. So that was a moment of joy for me. I got it done, sent it off. So I had some spare time that I could just choose how I wanted to enjoy. And I do believe that we carry on this energy to what we do. So if we're having fun, if we're enjoying it, it tells, right? You can see it in the result. So my courses, I always want to design them when I'm in that good space, right? But generally speaking, I'm in a very good space because I just trained myself to always be reframing or stopping if that is not the case. So if ever I feel some anxiety coming on, or if I feel that I'm starting to rush or being stressed out, I know that I have to reframe or stop. So it's a bit like, you know, when you want to catch a bus, you're late for the bus stop and you can see the bus coming and you start running perhaps, but at some point you think, oh no, I'm not going to catch it. So you stop running, right? You stop it. Or you reframe and you think, okay, I don't really need to take that bus, I can take the one after. So it's really about adapting all the time to what happens in life, because happiness is not about what happens to you, it's about how you react to it. So let's design the parts that we can design. Let's set ourselves up for an agreeable experience, knowing that we will have to react sometimes to events or circumstances in our lives, right? But it's really about making sure that you have got a plan for what it is you want to experience, so that you don't end up reacting to a lot of things that you didn't want to experience. So coming back to the self-care piece, it's about designing your day as close to your ideal day as possible. So I would invite you to go through your day, starting from the morning and going through everything you do all the way to the evening, even to the night, even to your sleep, and think about, well, what would I really like it to be? And then the self-loving thing to do is to give yourself the opportunity to experience that. And this is not instantaneous, right? Sometimes you have to work at it. And that is also part of self-care. There is an element of discipline in self-care, isn't there? You have to exert a little bit of self-loving discipline, really, to make sure that you set yourself up for what it is you want to experience. Let me give you a really simple example. If you are a woman my age, you might want to dye your hair. Maybe you've got lovely white or grey hair, and that is perfect, but maybe you want to dye it. And you could think, oh, this is part of my self-care because I always want to look my best, so I dye my hair. It can be part of self-care, and it can be really part of something much more cruel, where you beat yourself up for having to dye your hair, or you beat yourself up for not having dyed your hair, or you beat yourself up for not looking good with that dye, whatever it is. If you think, I want to look my best, how can I do that? I want to keep dyeing my hair. Well, then, ideally speaking, you should set yourself up to be able to have your hair dyed at all times, to always look your best, right? So you put it in your scheduler, you schedule it in, and then you try to make as good an experience out of it as possible. But reacting to life in regard to dyeing your hair looks like, oh my gosh, my roots are showing, I must do something, oh, I haven't got the time, right? That is a very disagreeable experience, and it can be so easily prevented. So what many of us do is we schedule in too many things, so we won't get them done, which then leads to a lot of stress and overwhelm, because we just see that, oh, I can't dye my hair, I haven't got the time, I haven't got the time, right? Because my schedule is so full. So that is coming back to rushing. I said at the beginning that I've gifted myself the gift of not having to rush. And that also means that I have to give myself a lot of free space, a lot of free time, so that I've got those breathing spaces, and so that it doesn't all end up in chaos and reaction, right? And gifting myself that free time, that time where I can put in things that didn't get done, where I can reshuffle my schedule without being late for everything, that is really the biggest piece of self-care that I can think of. It's this idea that it will take the time it takes. I'm willing to gift myself that time. It's up to me to gift myself that time, right? So that often means taking something off. Now, with self-care, we think a lot about adding things onto life, right? I told you about giving yourself a compliment in the morning, doing physical exercise to feel good and all that. But it's just as much about taking things off your plate. So creating that white space, I think that is really much more key than adding things on. So I would like to challenge you right now to see whether there isn't one area of responsibility, one thing you could take off your plate, perhaps delegate, perhaps pay somebody to do it, or even not do it at all. That could be dyeing your hair. I mean, if it's getting on your nerves having to dye your hair, maybe you want to consider taking it off. I've done something similar with my hands, with my nails, because I used to be a musician, a harpist, so I had to have really short nails to be able to play. I don't play anymore, but I've kept my short nails because I don't want to invest the time it takes to get manicures and putting on nail varnish and taking it off and doing it. I don't want to have that extra thing to do. So it's again about how having beautiful nails can be a sign of self-care, and not having them can also be a sign of self-care. It depends on the intention that is behind. Do you see what I mean? So sometimes taking things off can really create a beautiful space where there's so much more enjoyment for you to be had than going through the list of everything you want to cram into your life. Do you see what I mean? Maybe, this is just striking me now, this is hitting me rather. Maybe, I mean, I'm 53 and I chose not to have children, which is something I've never regretted. But I'm just thinking right now, well, maybe that was the biggest piece I took off my plate. Maybe that was the biggest piece that I gifted to myself, not having to spend time on bringing up children. Do you see what I mean? So I'm not saying don't have children or anything like that. I'm just saying this is an example of choosing not to have something which is potentially joyful, right? It's about designing your life. So I chose, okay, I won't have children, that way I've got time for something else. Maybe I did that unconsciously. I'm sure there's a lot of unconsciousness around this, but the unconscious part is perhaps the part that is being guided by intuition and all that delicious stuff. I just felt that having children would be a source of overwhelm, frustration, resentment, and overwhelm for me, right? So I chose not to include it in my life. So it could be something major you want to take out of your life. It could be something tiny like doing your nails. Think about it. Is there something you could take off your plate that would all of a sudden create a lot of space? I once had a client who said, oh yeah, I have to water the plants. And it's again about this have to. Now you choose to water your plants, right? You have plants because you love plants. If you don't want to water them, get rid of them. Do you see what I mean? So it's about choice. It's about designing. Everything is choice. And I can hear you right now saying, no, I don't have a choice. You don't understand, Katrina. But I do. And if we could just take the judgment out of it, if we could admit that we always have got choice, and then free ourselves of the judgment of the wrong choices we've made in our lives, well, that would free up a lot of ease and freedom, I think. So when we want to say, oh, I haven't got the choice, I have to get up at 5:30, well, no, actually you don't have to. You want to get up at 5:30 so that you're not late for your job, right? That's a want, that's not a have to. You want to work so that you have got money so that you can live, right? But ultimately, there are so many choices. Maybe you can't see them, but you must admit that there are the choices. And if you can get rid of the guilt and the judgment around the choices you've made, you'll be able to see all the possibilities that there are out there for you. And if you can't see the possibilities, well, then you need to get in touch with me or another coach so that we can help you realize really all your options. So, two more things I wanted to mention, just to get into your awareness when you are thinking about how you can take take better care of yourself is that many of us, I think particularly women, we wait with gifting ourselves these joyful moments, what I call blissful moments, or you can call them rewards or treats or whatever. We sort of suspend them till we feel that we have earned them. So lots of us think, okay, I need to get this done, I need to get that done, I need to take care of this and that, and then I can gift myself something I enjoy. And to me, that is the wrong way around, because the idea is that we can always gift ourselves what we enjoy. That is the basis of our existence. So we don't need that piece of justification, that piece of work to make us deserving of what it is we want to enjoy. So I would like to invite you too to think about anywhere in your life where you're not gifting yourself those moments, those treats, those rewards, where you can really savor something you enjoy. If you're not doing that, well, what is holding you back? Is it this sense of having to achieve something to be able to reward yourself? And on that subject, let me give you an example. It's like you want to see this film and you think, okay, when I've finished this task, I will reward myself by watching this film. I will sit down, chill out on the sofa, and I will watch this film. So that is all well and good. You've done your work and you've got your reward. What I'd like for you to think about, whether it's possible for you or not, is to sometimes reward yourself before you've worked. To dive straight into the joy and the bliss and the treat, the reward. To have that first and then do the work. See whether your work isn't influenced by you having enjoyed yourself before. See whether there isn't a little bit of difference with this joy energy coming in to what it is you do afterwards. The thing is that you have to apply a little bit of that self-loving discipline. So if you said, okay, I'll watch the film, then after the film, then you must go to work, right? So that is one thing I wanted you to think about. Also, if you are the sort of person who leaves out enjoyment till you blow up, right? If you push yourself so hard to always do, achieve, accomplish, duty, obligation, you leave out enjoyment for so long that you run yourself down, that you're ready to crack open, that you're ready to cry murder, right? If that is the case, how would it be if you started building in those rewards regularly? That would be a first step, it seems to me. And what if you didn't need to justify? What if you didn't need to say, mostly to yourself, I mean, it's not really about other people, it's more about ourselves. What if I don't need to justify my lying on the sofa watching a film by having done a lot of hard work before? What if I could just allow myself to do it? So that is a thought I want to leave you with. So it's really a balancing act. It's about, if I try to recap, getting as close as possible to your ideal day. It's about gifting you the joy, the bliss, the treats, the rewards regularly without waiting till you can't stand it anymore. It's about not having to justify and letting go of the judgments of the wrong choices that we have made in life. Those weren't perhaps wrong choices, they were learning experiences, right? So I want to leave you with that, and also I want to remind you that we are keeping the self-love activation course at half price. You've got 50% off with the code I am well during COVID, because I know that lots of you really need to get in touch with that unconditional love that you can cultivate for yourself. So I think I put the link somewhere around this video. So please go ahead, click on the link, and you can actually have the entire self-love activation course for just $23.50. So with the code I am well. So please go ahead. If you haven't already benefited from that, you still can. I would love to ask you whether you've got any questions, but I'm not sure. I can see your questions, so I'll just go, sorry, and answer them once I stop the video. So have a lovely weekend here in France where I am. We've got a long weekend because it's the 14th of July on Tuesday. 14th of July was like, it's the national holiday in France. It's a national day, perhaps like the 4th of July in the United States. So please consider this self-care piece. Please find a way to up-level your self-care. There's always more, right? We can always go one up, I believe. So this was meant as an inspiration and I hope motivation for you to have a look at how you can up-level your self-care. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.